10 biggest unanswered questions and mysteries after the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale. Chicago Fire Season 13 was filled with ups and downs, and although the finale ended with many happy moments, it leaves the audience with many questions that Season 14 must answer. Picking up where the last hour left off, Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 22, immediately dove deeper into Chief Dom Pascal's latest predicament. He was being accused of attempted murder, but Kelly Severide knew that his chief was innocent. So Pascal and Severide spent the majority of the finale trying to clear Dermot Mulroney's character's name. Elsewhere in the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale, Stella Kidd attempted to handle the Natalie situation. Sam Carver told Violet McCamey that he was leaving Chicago, and Christopher Herman made a difficult decision regarding his future at Firehouse 51. All in all, the episode was quite eventful. It didn't end on a life-or-death cliffhanger, but it still gives fans many questions to mull over while waiting for Chicago Fire Season 14. During the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale's last moments, Kidd showed Severide a positive pregnancy test. The fan-favorite couple had been trying to start a family throughout the previous episodes and came close to adopting a newborn. Unfortunately, the birth mother decided to keep the baby at the last second. Then Natalie came strolling into their lives, and for a while, it seemed like Severide and Kidd would adopt the teenager. That wasn't the case, though, as Kidd helped Natalie mend her relationship with her sister, and learned soon after that she was pregnant. Heading into Chicago Fire Season 14, Severide and Kidd must figure out how to navigate this next phase of their relationship. Having a baby is a big step, and the fact that Severide and Kidd are firefighters makes matters much harder. Kidd will likely be forced to take a backseat, given that she's the one carrying the baby. Meanwhile, Severide will undoubtedly be treated differently from Kidd by their fellow firefighters, which could make for an interesting conflict in the upcoming episodes. By the end of the Season 13 finale, Pascal was a free man. He and Severide discovered that Lieutenant Vale was the one who attempted to murder the man who killed Monica Pascal in Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 15. They had the evidence to back it up, resulting in Vale's arrest. Now Pascal can return to Firehouse 51 as their chief without any legal issues that we know of hanging over his head. The question is, does Pascal want to go back? Only time will tell what comes next for him. As mentioned above, Carver told Violet he was moving from Chicago to Denver in the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale. After struggling with his battle with sobriety, Carver believed a change of scenery was exactly what he needed to get healthy. Given that it was previously announced that 2 characters would be leaving Chicago Fire after Season 13, Carver's move to Denver appeared to be the producer's way of writing him out of the show. However, by the hour's end, it became less clear what Chicago Fire has in store for Carver in Season 14. It had to end this way, concluded with Carver waiting outside Violet's apartment, where he kissed her without hesitation. He told her he loved her, and Violet told him she loved him too. Earlier in the episode, Violet finally gave Carver the letter she had previously written that expressed her feelings for him. Once he read it, Carver became conflicted over leaving Firehouse 51 in Chicago Fire. Based on his actions during the finale's last few moments, though it seems like Carver could stick around, but as a recurring character instead of a series regular. If Carver goes through with his move to Denver, the only mystery remaining pertains to his relationship with Violet in Chicago Fire. The couple ended Season 13 on a blissful note. It would be strange if Season 14 opened with Carver and Violet separated, despite the fact that they are in love with each other. Yes, long distance is hard. Maybe Carver and Violet could make it work, though, and Carver could one day return to Chicago. Whatever the case, Season 14 has to give closure to Carver and Violet's will. They/want they storyline. The NBC procedural drama has always revolved around the lives of the first responders who make up Firehouse 51. The makeup of the Chicago Fire cast has changed over the years, but they have remained a family, welcoming newcomers and giving departing members heartfelt goodbyes. While the former has been true in Season 13, the finale didn't exactly explain how one character would leave, despite Daniel Keary's Darren Ritter is leaving Chicago Fire. However, the finale didn't pay much attention to the character. If one weren't aware of the breaking news surrounding Ritter and Carver's exits, they would believe that Ritter is staying at Firehouse 51 after Season 13. Sadly, that won't be happening, and the Season 14 premiere will have to explain Ritter's disappointing absence. Neither Carver nor Ritter had definitive exits in the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale. They didn't die, get fired, suffer a career-ending injury, fully commit to moving out of Chicago, etc. So, it stands to reason that both Chicago Fire characters could return in Season 14, even though NBC wants to boot them from the cast. The odds are that Carver and Ritter won't appear in Chicago Fire Season 14. At least they certainly won't be series regulars. But based on the Season 13 finale, the producers could find a way to bring Carver and Ritter, if only to bring their character arcs to satisfying ends. Herman seemed happy to step down so that Mouch could become Engine 51's lieutenant during the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale. However, taking a demotion and a pay cut isn't exactly an ideal scenario for anyone, even if they're helping out their friend. Herman could unconsciously start to resent Mouch in Season 14. He doesn't want a desk job, as he told Mouch at Molly's in the Chicago Fire episode, but perhaps he doesn't want to be a regular old firefighter either. Another Firehouse 51 romance is brewing in Chicago Fire, but after Season 13, it's unclear where they stand. Lizzie Novak and Jack Damon, Severide's half-brother, started hooking up towards the season's end. It was obvious they were into each other, at least physically. However, it's uncertain if Novak and Damon's relationship will ever turn serious, and hopefully we'll find out in Season 14 if the writers decide to continue exploring them as a couple. Since Pascal won't be going to jail and Herman isn't taking over as Firehouse 51's chief, by all accounts it seems like Dermot Mulroney's Chicago Fire Season 13 character is sticking around for Season 14. He could still leave, though. Chicago holds many traumatic memories for Pascal, including his wife's death. It wouldn't be unreasonable for Pascal to want to move out of the city and start anew, like Carver. Especially after the ordeal with Vale, it might be time for Pascal to leave. On the other hand, Firehouse 51 has become his family, which could persuade him to stay. When Pascal first came to Firehouse 51, Novak couldn't help but comment on how attractive he was. He was married and her chief, though, which shut down any idea of a romance between the two. Nevertheless, Novak could still have feelings for Pascal. Novak was worried about Pascal in the finale, and she seemed sad at the possibility of him transferring out of Firehouse 51. It's wholly possible that the paramedic could have lingering feelings for her chief. Yes, Novak is hooking up with Damon, but that doesn't negate the idea that she also has a thing for Pascal. Fans will have to wait until Chicago Fire Season 14 premieres to learn if Novak is into Pascal, though. When the final sirens faded and the engines returned to their bays, Chicago Fire left fans with more than just a legacy of courage, camaraderie, and high-octane drama. It left behind mysteries, unresolved questions that continue to smolder in the minds of loyal viewers, like embers refusing to die. Here are the 10 biggest unanswered questions that keep us guessing long after the final episode aired. 1. What really happened to Matt Casey in Oregon? Casey's relocation to Oregon was noble, fostering the Darden boys and finding a new purpose. But something never quite added up. There were vague references to struggles, emotional setbacks, and mysterious calls he wouldn't talk about. Did he stumble into something darker out there? Was he protecting someone? The veil never lifted completely, and even when he returned for appearances, the shadows lingered behind his smile. 2. Who was behind the firehouse vandalism in Season 9? When Firehouse 51 was targeted by vandals, graffiti, damaged rigs, missing equipment, the incident was written off as local gang retaliation. But Chief Bowden always seemed unconvinced. He looked at that evidence like a puzzle missing just one piece. Was it really just random? Or did someone from inside the CFD, or even a disgruntled former firefighter, want to send a message? 3. Will Sylvie Brett ever find peace and love? Sylvie Brett has been through heartbreak after heartbreak. From a failed engagement to roller coaster romances with Antonio, Casey, and beyond, her love life was a series of starts and stops. Even her final storyline left her on the verge of something big, but uncertain. Did she finally marry Matt Casey and move west? Did she stay in Chicago and open her own paramedicine unit? The show left us with a bittersweet goodbye.